Who wants to be the 8th seed? Hornets and Magic in Orlando vying for a berth in the postseason. You can see the Pistons lying in wait early first. Paolo Banchero. He was a man possessed in this game. Magic up early, and they would stay there. And then Banchero drives, and the find, Wendell Carter Jr. A 10-zip run for the Magic, up by 9. And they're not slowing down. Banchero. Then, over-the-shoulder flip to Carter for a 3. Carter had 16 points, 10 of his 16 in the first quarter. Just under 4 to go. Jalen Suggs, the Banchero to the bottom of the barrel. Another 10-zip run. Magic up 14 now. Banchero muscles it on in there and 1. He had 12 in the first quarter. Magic up 22 after 1. 22 points is the lead after 1. Quarter 2. Banchero playing defense, forces the turnover, and Orlando's in a hurry. Franz Wagner, Banchero, another and 1. Couple minutes later, more good D from the Magic. And more pushing. And there's Suggs. Wagner with the alley-oop. Suggs had 12 in the first half. Last seconds, LaMelo Ball driving. Yeah. Wendell Carter Jr. playing his position. Hornets finished with more total turnovers in the first half than buckets. That's not good.
Not exactly a nail-biter this one.
No. I can't even ramp up any drama, Madeline. It's all Orlando. There goes Banchero. He had 25. Magic go on to win this one 121-90. That's the largest victory in play-in history. Magic move on to play the Pistons. Game 1 on Sunday. Paolo Banchero now at the podium.
In a do-or-die game like this for your squad, not only to come out with a win, but to do it in this fashion, what do you think it says about your group?
Just that we were, ready to fight, ready to extend our season and get our spot in the playoffs. Nobody wanted to go home today, so thought we just came out and played really motivated.
Well, you said it the other night in Philadelphia, like you had to play better tonight. You knew that. Just how much of an urgency was there to do that from the jump and set the tone really in the paint?
Yeah, just great players. You got to respond. That's what they pay you to do. You can't just settle for subpar performances. Especially in situations like this, do or die, win or go home. Got to show up for your teammates and set the tone. And so, I thought I did that. I thought, Jalen did that. I thought Anthony Black, Desmond Bain, everybody. I thought we all set the tone coming in. Wendell hitting 2 threes. I think it was just a full team effort.
Paolo, kind of to Beatty's point, after the loss to Philadelphia, you said that the basketball gods don't reward you for being indecisive, but how would you say that your performance tonight was based off of a proactive mindset, maybe instead of being reactive and just, staying aggressive?
Yeah, for sure. Like you said, like I said, hesitation doesn't get rewarded. And, I just wanted to come out and take whatever I wanted, in terms of not necessarily just letting defense kind of trick me into, doing what they want. If they're backing up, I'm still going to drive the ball and make them have to react instead of just falling into their trap. And then when I want to shoot the 3 and I feel good about it, I'm going to take the 3. And so just being confident, being decisive, and not hesitating, I think that was the main things tonight.
What would you think of the defensive contributions of Desmond Bain? Obviously, Coach mentioned he 50-50 balls. He obviously had the tie-up with Miles there. What did you think of the way he impacted the game on that end?
Yeah, he's just one of those players. He's the first on the floor. He's never afraid to get his hands dirty, get on the floor. He's in there scrapping for rebounds, picking up on defense. And that's just, says a lot about him as a player and as a person, to be able to, obviously everybody knows what he do offensively, but, he's not afraid to, put his head in there on defense and, make, game-changing plays. I think another play he had was when he stole the ball from LaMelo, I think in the third quarter, when they got it down to like 22. that could have been a game-changing play if they come down and score right there or whatnot, and he was able to create a turnover and us get a bucket on the other end. So he was great defensively, and he's just a leader on the team.
And so the NBA's longest active playoff drought remains active. Our NBA analyst, Danny Green, jumping in now. So, Danny, the Hornets beat the Magic 3-4 in the regular season. Completely different story tonight. Orlando moves on to play the Pistons. What did you see out of the Magic in this game?
I mean, they threw the first punch. They came in with a chip on their shoulder. They were aggressive. They were upset that they lost to Philly. They felt like they let one get away. And they just, beat up on the Charlotte Hornets. Obviously, the Charlotte Hornets didn't play their best basketball, but Paolo was a force tonight. And he was the guy that we expected him to be all year tonight as an all-star, all-NBA caliber player. We haven't seen it consistently enough, but he came in, guns blazing. Carter Jr. did a great job as well. Wendell Carter Jr. got involved, but they shot the ball well, and everything was clicking for them. And for Charlotte, it was just one of those rough nights. But Orlando looked like the team we expected them to be before the season started, and it was just a one game, so we'll see if they can continue that.
Now, as for the Hornets, they fought their way into the play-in tournament. Rookie Con Knippel had an impressive first season, but despite the energy around the team, they came up well short of their goal. How did the Hornets look to build off of this season?
Well, Con, he was great all season long, like you said. I have him as Rookie of the Year, so he was nothing short of amazing. But this postseason, these last two games, he very much struggled. I think he's going to learn the most from this failure and not stepping up. When the lights are bright, you got to come in and show up to play. And it can go one or two ways for him. Either he's going to, remember this, watch film, and be a really great player from here on out, or it could mess with his mind mentally. But I would like to think he's going to be one of those guys that, keeps a chip on his shoulder and actually grows from this. But even the rest of the group, they can grow from this. They can mature. They can get better. They have the depth. They just got to learn to play with this all season long and not just the last quarter of the season so that they're not in this position come playoff time.
Danny Green, thanks so much. Stay with us. We got to preview some of the weekend playoff matchups coming up. Steph Curry and the Warriors battling Devin Booker and the Suns for a chance to face the Thunder in the playoffs Sunday. Pick this up the middle of the first. Suns up by 4. Phoenix pushing it up the court. Dylan Brooks hits the 3. Bucket. Suns up 7. Later in the first. Suns now up by 9. Booker finds Jalen Green wide open for 3. That's good. Suns up by 12. Under 2 minutes to go in the first now. Suns still up double digits. Booker gets it, drives, lays it in, and 1. Suns currently leading 43-29.
Always good to see you, my friend. Let's start in the East. LaMelo Ball, as we know, is going to grab most of the headlines considering what happened in his last matchup, but Brandon Miller and the supporting cast have been key for Charlotte. Just how important is that full team effort if the Hornets want to stay alive?
Yeah, it's huge, right? Because they need to overcome LaMelo being LaMelo, right? I mean, they won the last game, Katie, in spite of him, not because of him. And I know that LaMelo is sitting there somewhere. I'm sure he's watching us right now going, well, wait a minute, I hit the game winner. Well, okay, great. Congratulations, you did that. But you also did 10 other knucklehead things in that game that should have resulted in a Hornets loss, up to and including that dirty play on Bam. So, yes, they absolutely need the full team effort. They have shooters everywhere on that team. They have 3 guys, including LaMelo, who had 200 or more threes. The other 2 guys are Con Knippel, who led the league and set a franchise record as a rookie. Now, bad game versus the Heat for him. He was benched late. We'll see what you get out of him tonight, but they really need him to look like the Rookie of the Year candidate that he is. And then the third guy is Brandon Miller, who's had an absolutely fantastic season, and unlike LaMelo, an incredibly smart player. And then on top of that, you've got Miles Bridges and Kobe White off the bench, who's instant offense. So they're going to need all of those guys to contribute. And I'm begging you, LaMelo, you need LaMelo to sort of check some of his worst instincts, which is easier said than done, but the Hornets have plenty of talent on that roster.
Look, I'm a Warriors fan. We got to talk about Draymond Green here in a second, but the $60,000 fine, we'll have to see what happens with that. But Con Knippel better step it up. I'm agreeing with you there. Maybe he got some of those rookie nerves out of his system in that first matchup. But let's look at this other side now, the Magic. The season, John, has felt like a roller coaster that maybe they're ready to get off. Obviously, reports of major changes coming. Do you see this being more of a coaching shift, or could this roster look very different next season?
Yeah, I think it's both. Little A, little V, right? I mean, win or lose, I think Jamal Mosley is probably gone. I like Jamal Mosley. I don't think it's his fault, Katie. But, he's done more with this group than I think a lot of people could do. But I'm fine with them moving on from him and bringing in another head coach, because I think it's possibly one of those situations where they're sort of tuning him out a little bit. And then in terms of roster construction, which is very much not Jamal Mosley's fault, this team just isn't good enough, right? I mean, their main two guys, Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner, I don't think they work together. We have enough evidence to see that it hasn't really worked, or at least that they haven't leveled up to a point where they're real contenders in the Eastern Conference. And then Paolo Banchero, I keep waiting for him to develop his game, and he really hasn't done that. He's a terrible shooter. He's inefficient. He was awful against the Sixers. And again, he hasn't grown his game. So if they're going to keep one of those guys, I'm keeping Wagner and trading Paolo. Maybe they could put him in a package for Giannis, see if the Bucks bite on that. But they just really don't have enough offense, even after trading for Desmond Bane and giving 4 first-round picks. They're really just not good enough at that end. They actually were 18th in offensive rating this season, which represents an improvement for them because they were in the bottom third of the league in offense for like well over a decade. So they just barely get out of that, and it's still not enough. And I'd be really surprised if they're able to keep pace with the Hornets tonight, which we're going to talk about. But yes, they need to shake things up big time.
All right, well, let's talk about that right now because the winner has a date with the Pistons Sunday for Game 1 of the playoffs at 6:30 Eastern. Who's it going to be?
Yeah, well, one of these teams is playing really well right now, and the other team is Orlando. So Charlotte has won 3 of 4 games against the Magic this season. The Magic struggle on offense big time. As we talked about, the Hornets play fast. They bomb away from deep. I don't see how Orlando keeps up with them offensively. The Hornets are super talented. They're exciting. They're fun to watch. And if you're an NBA casual, this is the team you want to advance, Katie, because it would make for such a great series against the Pistons. They have some history here. They have some bad blood. You'll remember early in the season they got into that brawl. So I say let's run it back. I think we're going to run it back. I'll take the Hornets.
Well, and you think about it, over the last, I don't know, couple decades, the Hornets and the Pistons haven't been that good. So it's kind of fun to see these organizations take a step forward that way. And then, of course, always a little bit of scuffle never hurt nobody. Now for a game that is very close to home, at least for me, the Warriors and the Suns. John, let me ask you this, because I know what my answer would be, but